Welcome to B2B Sales Trends, the podcast dedicated to sales leaders in the B2B space, where we share conversations about innovative and successful sales transformations to keep you up to date on the latest trends. This podcast is brought to you by Global Performance Group.
Welcome to a new episode of the B2B Sales Trends podcast, my lovely people. The podcast that shares insights, tips, thought leadership from the world of B2B selling. My name is Harry Kendlbacher, and today I'm super excited because today's a bit of an unusual situation, or recording, should I say, as we have a guest that we have in the past recorded already an episode. I think it's episode 20 or 22 to be correct. But Sachin Wadhawan is again a guest on our podcast. And why is that? Because, well, back in the days when we did our first recording, Sachin was a senior sales engineer director in this role, focused on sales engineers, and even wrote a book about it, which we're going to get a little bit later too. But now Sachin is a go-to-market leader at a startup. So his focus has really shifted. And the other day when we got chatting, I thought, this will be really good to have him back on the podcast to basically share a little bit of a different perspective now from where he was before. So Sachin, welcome to the B2B Sales Trends podcast again.
Harry, thank you so much for having me back. One thing is consistent. I was wearing this t-shirt when we first met, and I'm still representing Trust Your SE. So glad to be back, and super excited to be talking about pretty much the same topic, but from a different angle. I'm excited to share that.
So last time you were on the podcast, we talked about sales engineering and the critical sort of role that technical sales professionals play in the sales process. Now you're leading go-to-market efforts for a startup. Maybe you can share a little bit about who that is. So how has your perspective on sales evolved since this transition?
Yeah, a lot of things have changed. I think one thing that's consistent when I was on the podcast last, I really wanted to bring the perspective of the role that sales engineers play in success of B2B sales reps and sales leaders. They are very critical to the success of sales in general. And I truly still believe that. And the opportunity that was given to me to not just continue to be an SC leader and growing sales engineering teams, but now to be a chief revenue officer of a startup, kind of gives me a different perspective because one, it's a team of one. So I am the account executive and I am the sales engineer. So I think my sales engineer is doing pretty well so far. But I'm realizing even more how hard sales is. And not just sales where you have a product, you have customers, you have case studies, you know your product messaging and value. But at the ground zero, it's hard when a lot of those things are still not figured out. So it's been an interesting and humbling experience. I think I may have mentioned this on the last call is, I wish a lot more sales engineers had experience being a sales rep. I think they will have a different level of empathy for, the challenges that sales reps face. But majority of sales engineers, unfortunately, don't have that experience, and vice versa. I mean, majority of sales reps have never been a sales engineer either. But I think I have this unique perspective that, even before becoming a CRO, I'd carried the quota. But now I'm at ground zero trying to figure out all go to market. It's been fun.
Right. And if I remember correctly, the startup that you're working for now, they're competing against some big players in the space, companies, far bigger with far bigger marketing budget, should I say. You mentioned that you sort of can't muscle your way in through the traditional demand gen.
Yeah.
So what's your strategy with this, and how are you positioning the company to stand out through the sales process rather than just deep pockets in marketing?
Yeah, it is a very crowded market. So we essentially are a data integration, data orchestration platform, which a lot of companies do that. We do a lot of, we leverage AI agents to to enhance that. There's a lot of companies doing AI, agentic AI as well. From a sales standpoint, there was time when I was scared of that, but now I've realized that crowded market is a good thing, because that means a lot of other people are trying to solve the same problem you're trying to solve, which also validates that there is a problem and there's no single player that's kind of dominated it. So it gives you, this possibility that maybe you can figure out how best to solve it and gain market share. Interestingly, I feel, and it's still very early stages, so it's not proven yet, but I feel there's a superpower that I have with the SC background, that I'm not afraid to demo, right? Or I'm almost kind of more triggered to, even in early stages of conversations, right? With first conversation, I don't have to go reach out to a sales engineer and pull in another resource. I can actually show the product, and it's helping us gain that differentiation, because a lot of times, because it's a crowded market, people don't really get when they just look at our website. But the moment I start showing them something, they get it, right? The aha moments come. It's like, wow, you can do that. And I think I'm kind of, taking advantage of this superpower that I have, where I am technical, I can roll up the sleeves, I can do the demo, and that's helping us differentiate. Obviously, that's not a scalable solution, but at this early stage, it's definitely helping me. I also, some of the other things we're trying is, you've got the traditional go-to-market channels. And as a new CRO, I'm learning, when do you start doing outbound versus inbound? How do you do, LinkedIn ads and all of that? But what I've identified so far is our ideal buyer is the CTOs, right? It's head of engineering. And I'm experimenting with what we call an ambassador program, is really kind of creating an influence of circle with those CTOs. So I'm trying to reach out to CTOs and head of engineering and not necessarily sell to them, but just empower them with the knowledge of what our platform can do. So if they have people in their network that may identify that need, they have an incentive to refer to us. So it's a new model, something different that we're trying. I've always believed in channel approach, and I think this is a little bit more of an indirect approach that we're trying to see how that would work.
That sounds like it provides a lot of values to CTOs. So I like the idea of that ambassador program. Great.
Yeah, if they hear from another CTO about, hey, have you heard about Fasten? And the way they're trying to solve this data integration is different. I feel and hope that person will come with a little bit more of curiosity than, me out spending a bigger player on LinkedIn ads and, get my messaging in front of them. But we'll see if it works.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about AI in sales. And everybody's confronted with AI nowadays, and the question always asked is it is it a game changer or is it really a hype? And I know you've been experimenting a lot with different AI tools to track competitive intelligence and sort of save time in a startup environment. There is a lot of hype around AI in sales, but what's actually working? That's the key question. And where do you really see these opportunities for AI to enhance the sales process rather than just adding noise? Because you don't want to give people more things to do. You want to support what they're doing and make it easier and more scalable. Where do you see these real opportunities for AI to enhance?
I feel we're still early in truly figuring out where you get the most ROI. I think we've shifted as an industry from there's a hot buzz around it. Everybody wants to do it. Everybody's attracted to it. Everybody signed up for, different LLMs, and all companies are scrambling to figure out what is our AI strategy, and the right people are being hired, with the AI expertise in companies. I can tell you, my perspective on AI is really both from technical and sales business standpoint, because from a technology standpoint, as a startup, we're leveraging AI so much as an AI first company. There were things that would have taken us longer to develop, that because of using AI, we're able to get those features out much faster, right? So the pace of product roadmap and things like that are totally accelerated. Pace of testing and quality control is totally accelerated. So I experience AI as a CRO when I see our product evolve, right? In terms of how I'm using day to day, right? So from a business standpoint, on a personal level, for example, I use ChatGPT now sometimes more than I'm using Google search, right? Because sometimes I don't want to get a result and have the 5 top results be ads. And then the 6th one is what I click on. Whereas with ChatGPT, it has context of what else I've asked and it gives me the answer that's tailored to me, right? So I'm seeing this shift on where can I use AI that helps me, right? So to me, I don't want to do anything non-human humanly, right? I want all of the non-human activities to be done by somebody else. So I think of AI from a business as a CRO standpoint. What are some things that I would need to do that are better done by technology, right? So to give you an example, since we're in a crowded market, what I started to identify was, it was just taking me a long time. I was following all our competitors on LinkedIn. I have Google search keywords that I would search for, and I would have this, couple of days routine where I would just do this research. And then I started using Paragon.io as a solution where I just put in my competitors' names and the phrases that I'm looking for. Like, tell me about what's latest going on in data orchestration. And it summarizes and indexes all of that information and feeds to me based on what I need to read. So it's really shrunk what I would have spent 5-6 hours of intelligent research to half an hour, right? So that's a good use case where I'm like, okay, I don't need to spend all this time. I can just have that information fed to me. Similarly, I'm trying to create thought leadership as a CRO, as a startup. And, instead of me sitting down saying, all of us have those, reactions, right? It's like you open up your LinkedIn and you're like, all right, what am I going to say? Is it going to sound intelligent? It better be intelligent before I post it. But I use ChatGPT. ChatGPT in our account already knows everything about Fasten, right? So it's easy for me to ideate with that to say, I would like to have a LinkedIn post about this. What are some bullet points that I can incorporate, right? So it's speeding up my thought leadership. It's not giving me the full answer, but it's getting me 80% there, and then I can personalize it to what I want to say. And then the last one, our founder did this really amazing. I haven't figured out how to use this yet, but I think it's really powerful. He figured out he's using some AI mechanism, AI agent, where every time we have a new visitor on our website, in my Slack, I get the LinkedIn profile of who that person is, right? So as a CRO, I have, full visibility into who is visiting our website, right? Now, I don't know what to do with that just yet. I don't want to reach out to them because that's creepy, but I'm trying to figure out that just that intelligence that, maybe I did a demo to a prospect, but now their CEO just visited. I'm like, oh, interesting. They must have talked to somebody in the company about Fasten, right? So it's stuff like that that's that would not be humanly feasible, but AI is helping with that.
So when your founder tells you how he's doing that, let me know because I'm interested in that. Dude, that's great.
I will follow
That's
up
really
with that.
good.
Yes, it's pretty easy agent. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So right now you're really wearing a number of different hats, right? You're acting as a business development rep in a way, an account executive, a sales engineer, and a CRO umbrella across all these roles, right?
Yeah.
That's a challenge on many levels, and many early stage go-to-market leader face those challenges. How do you prioritize your time and energy to make the biggest impact here?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure that out. I think there is a level of excitement being at a startup where I want to do so many things. And because I'm new to this role, there's so much that needs to be done. I have sales, marketing, services, right? So I'm wearing not just the revenue focused roles, but retention and go to market as well. And I think there are times when, because of that excitement, it's easy for me to scatter brain and just try to do everything. Prioritization is definitely something I'm learning that I have to master. I wouldn't say I've mastered yet, but for now, I'm trying to keep the eye on the prize, which is the company brought me in to drive revenue, right?
Right.
So my biggest priority is, am I paying the right level of attention to how our pipeline is growing? And the opportunities that are in pipeline, how are they nurturing? Because nobody else in the company, cares or focuses on those two things except me. And nobody else has the ability to influence those two things than me. So that's my priority number one. But at the same time, what I'm also realizing that, for all the times that I've been a sales engineer and supported sales reps, I think there was a higher emphasis on showing and telling when you have a more mature product, right? Because you usually only have 30 minutes, 45 minutes with an audience. It may be the only meeting you have with them. So there's this pressure to show them, educate them, consult them with as much knowledge about your value and your solution that you can. What I'm realizing is that I have had to break that habit at this early stage of running these sales cycles. I'm forcing myself to listen more in selling and talk less, right? Because it's as important at this stage it is for me to close a deal than to learn about how our sales cycle is working. Because when we start hiring sales reps and sales team, I need to give them a template. And if I don't have a playbook myself, I can't give them anything decent for them to go execute. So I'm prioritizing listening as much as I'm prioritizing selling. And then the last one, I would say, I'm a big networker. I think the CRO sales leadership community is very strong. I'm sure in every city. I've been so humbled by people that have reached out that I've not even known. I just look at their LinkedIn status, their VP of sales CRO, to say, hi, hey, I'm new to leading sales. Can can we meet up for a coffee? And people are just so open to sharing, well, if I was in your shoes, these are the things I would prioritize. And I love that. When people tell me that, it gives me good direction, to follow.
Yeah. It's really interesting to your previous point here, the listening portion of things. Especially when there is new technology or a new way of using the technology. What we've learned when we worked a lot with organizations that bring out new solutions, it's really not about going in and asking 20 questions to the prospect, right? In a way, you have to educate them, because one thing they don't know is that how that particular technology can impact their solution or their outcomes from in relation to their organization. And that's an education process. We really refer to it as generating new needs in the mind of the prospect. And that really has nothing to do with just asking a couple of questions. It's really about a mixture of how do we share insights, how do we generate underappreciated, undiscovered needs that they didn't know they have, needs that they didn't know can have an impact on their business. And that's really the conversation that's focused then on how do we drive new outcomes with what I can provide, and how can I help you improve your business here. And then obviously the listening portion is really strongly emphasized on that too. So it's a really fine but important nuance to the conversation.
Absolutely. And I think bringing that level of intellectual curiosity, because we're an early stage startup, I'm also using a little bit of, how when new employees join a company, right? If you're a new sales leader or sales rep, you can say, hey, I'm a newbie, so I can ask dumb questions, right? I'm kind of leveraging that in some of these sales conversations to say, I'm also trying to just learn about, what are some challenges you're experiencing, so we can, take that input into our product roadmap, our product messaging, our product market fit. And, I think that lowers the guard for people a lot of times, because they kind of start to see that, oh, this is not just a full-on sales call. I don't have to hold my cards back. This is a little bit of a research discovery call too. So in some cases, I'm seeing that people are opening up a little bit more when I just say, look, I'm here to learn from you as much as to teach you.
Love it. Let's talk about your book. You've recently published it. It's called Trust Your SE. SE staying obviously for sales engineer. Sell bigger and better and faster with your sales engineer.
Yes.
You published a book, and it's a cool read. I've read it. It's very nice. Thank you for the copy, by the way. It's really the intersection between technical expertise and sales success, which I found fascinating in how you portrayed it in your book. What was the driving force behind writing it, and what's been your biggest takeaway now that it's out in the big world?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We talked about, there's the book right here, Trust
There
Your
it
SC.
is. Love it.
Trust Your SC, and here's my t-shirt that kind of inspired it. But yes, on the last podcast, we talked about, writing this book, and it's taken that long of a journey. It was hard, ups and downs of all authors, what all authors feel. I think, what inspired the book is related to kind of why I came to the last podcast, bringing the level of awareness of sales engineering to sales reps, right? There are amazing books written for sales reps. There's amazing training that you guys are providing, for sales reps and revenue leaders to become better at their trade. There are tons of really amazing books written for sales engineers on how to be better sales engineer. What I identified was they were in two parallel, right? There wasn't an overlap. So there wasn't really any book written for sales reps that educated them on how they can leverage their sales engineering resources. Hence, the tagline of the book is sell bigger, better, and faster with your sales engineer, right? So it's really, and I think for any sales reps listening, for those that truly trust their sales engineer, they feel in their heart that because of that sales engineer, because of that relationship, they can achieve, the targets and over exceed their quotas and things like that as a team. But that's not very common, right? A lot of sales reps don't have full understanding of what sales engineers do and how they fall into sales engineering, what their career path looks like. And similarly, a lot of sales engineers don't have a lot of experience of what happens before the demo and after the demo, right? So that was the inspiration for writing the book, to see if through the book, through my podcast, I can educate more people about what the profession is. It's been very rewarding and very humbling. I get random LinkedIn messages for people that have read it. So far, it's been for people that are trying to get into sales engineering, right? And they're like, oh, read the book. It gave me good understanding. But I really hope more and more sales reps, find it insightful, where they can read the book and it changes in even small ways how they engage with their sales engineers.
And where can people find your book?
I self-published it, which I think was a smart way for the first book. So Amazon.com, it's available in, I think, most countries where Amazon is. So just search for Trust Your SE, and you'll find the book right there.
And I can wholeheartedly, shall I say, recommend the book. It's a great read. Go and get a copy for sure. Sachin, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure to speak with you again. I know our listeners will super appreciate your insights and thought leadership on the topic. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me, Ari.
For our community of listeners, my lovely people, go to our website, www.b2bsalestrends.com, for this or for other episodes to forward to your colleagues or friends or spouses and family, anybody who is interested in that. Until the next episode, happy selling and all the best to you.